welcome to our Down the Rabbit Hole podcast today, where we're talking about all things Valentine's Day, maybe. The origin of Valentine's, where it's gone, and all the other interesting things that sort of go around this. I don't really call it a holiday. I don't consider it a holiday. It's kind of a commercial thing now, right? And, in the last probably 125 years, it's become very commercialized.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And
the restaurants are doing all these fancy meals that I really want to go to but can't afford.
Right.
Trying to get my husband on a date. Yeah, good luck with that.
And also, if you think about it, it's one of those things where, it's become so commercialized, but it's also a day where I feel like it makes some people feel very bad about themselves because they're not hooked up in a relationship or they don't feel like they're important. And I find that's sort of, that's kind of BS, right? I mean, this is, if you look at it, I think every day is kind of Valentine's Day. If you're in a relationship, right, you should always,
I think so.
Kind and caring and think about that person that is in your life. And if there is no other person in your life, significant other, then, think about yourself, right?
Because I'm just in it for the candy. I'm sorry. Especially when it's discounted the next day. My priorities are wrong.
So it's all on sale the next day.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it. Yeah.
Buy it today. Wait until after Valentine's Day. I don't know how you explain that to your significant other. Well, honey, get it all when it's on sale. I can buy you that much more. Right? But it depends on the person, I guess. But let's talk about some other interesting things that are attached to Valentine's Day that I think are more interesting than the saint. Did I just say that? Well, Ian, tell us your story, because I think it's really one of the most memorable in modern history.
It is. It really is. So you've got Valentine's Day. Romance, candles, chocolates, roses. Mm-hmm. But yes, it is also in recent history a very gruesome, bloody day, because there was an event that took place on February 14th, 1929, known as the Valentine's Day Massacre. Mm-hmm. Now, this event, to understand why it took place, you've got to take a look at the events and the history leading up to it. So you've got the Prohibition era in the United States at that time in the 1920s, and of course the centerpiece, I'll call it, of when you think of Prohibition, you think of Al Capone in Chicago, and that's leading into the massacre. So you had the Prohibition going on, and in Chicago you had two groups fighting for control over the organized crime that was taking place, and the bootlegging and the importing of the illegal alcohol from Canada coming into the United States. And the northern part of Chicago was controlled by Bugs Moran, and the rest of Chicago was controlled in a much larger scale by Al Capone. And as I said, they were constantly battling back and forth for control. And it is common knowledge that Bugs Moran was hijacking Capone's shipments of illegal bootlegged alcohol coming in. And there was also an assassination attempt on a guy named Jack McGurn, who was basically Capone's right-hand man. So what happened is, with all of this going on, somebody within the Al Capone organization decided that's enough. We're going to put a stop to this, and we're going to make an assassination attempt on Bugs Moran. Now, it's widely assumed that Capone was behind this, but that's never been proven.
Right. I know. I've read.
Oh, it hasn't? I always
No.
thought he was behind it. I don't know
Even
why.
to this day, no one knows for sure who masterminded the
Oh,
Valentine's Day massacre. Because apparently Al Capone was at his home in Florida at the time. He claimed he had no knowledge of it until afterwards. And apparently when he found out, he was just furious because this had been done without his consent.
oh no.
Yeah, so anyways, somebody within the Capone organization decided, okay, we're going to put a stop to this. We're going to eliminate Bugs Moran.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did is members of Capone's group rented an apartment across the street from where they knew that Bugs Moran had this warehouse that always received the shipments of the bootlegged alcohol. And so they rented this apartment. They set up basically, a stakeout. And for about 3 weeks, they observed the schedules and the timetables and what everybody from the Moran group were doing in this warehouse. And so then finally on February 14th, 1929, the Capone group made their move. And there were 4 men. 2 of them were dressed up as police officers. The other 2 were dressed as basically how you perceive gangsters today in the movies, with the trench coats and the fedora hats. So they made their move. They went into this warehouse about 10:30 in the morning, after thinking they had lured Moran and some of his men into the warehouse. And the 2 men who were dressed as police officers ordered the 7 men that were inside to line up against the brick wall, for a shakedown. Mm-hmm. And at that point, they then signaled to the 2 plainclothes gentlemen to come forward, and these guys pulled out from their trench coats the famous Thompson submachine gun.
Oh
and
my
they
goodness.
started blasting away at these 7 guys from Bugs Moran's group lined up against the wall. Now, the thing is that Moran was not there. He was scheduled to be there to receive a shipment of illegal alcohol, but he was late leaving his home, and he only arrived at the time when the Capone men were moving in, and he saw the police uniforms. So he turned around and took off. So the objective of the Capone raid wasn't met because Bugs Moran wasn't there. And so they blasted these guys. And to make it look good on the exit, the 2 guys who were in the plain clothes walked out with their hands up as if they were under arrest by the 2 guys who were dressed as police officers, and off they went. But so that was the massacre itself. And as I say, people think that Al Capone was behind it. As I say, it's never been proven. But 1 month after the massacre had taken place, Al Capone was arrested and incarcerated for carrying a concealed weapon. Now, we know from history that he also spent time in Alcatraz
Yes.
for income tax evasion.
Yep.
That's
But
right.
it's not
They got him
widely
on,
known. What's that?
But they got him on.
Accounting.
Yeah, but it's not widely known that he was actually in prison before Alcatraz for carrying this concealed weapon. And he ended up at the famous, or infamous, if you want to call it that,
Infamous. Yes.
penitentiary in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
And here's where the paranormal aspect of the massacre raid comes in, is that when Capone was in Eastern State, it's claimed that he was haunted by the ghost of Jimmy Clark.
Okay.
And Jimmy Clark is one of the 7 men who were lined up against the brick wall by Capone.
Oh,
Shot.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was his
And
own guilty conscience? Or do you think there was some substance to
I
that?
don't know, because these stories that I've heard, they actually come from the guards and staff members who were
Yeah.
at Eastern State at the time, and this is their claim.